What's up, guys? So let's go over some common pre-workout ingredients and how to figure out whether the product that you're taking is legit or not. There's a lot of good products on the market, but there are also a lot of products that are just trash, to be honest with you. Some companies will prioritize their profit margins over the quality or the efficacy of the product. And a lot of people aren't really going to pick up on this because they just want the pre-workout for the caffeine, that's the main ingredient in pretty much every pre-workout that makes you have energy is the caffeine. So if that's all you're after is the energy boost, shit, you can buy a bottle of caffeine tablets, 200 milligram tablets for like $5 at the store, or get yourself a Bang or something like that. If that's all you care about, why are you spending $40, $50 on a tub of pre-workout? That doesn't really make sense. But beyond that, there are other ingredients in pre-workouts that help things like your endurance and your pumps and shit like that. So that's what we're kind of going to go over, some of those common ingredients. So creatine is one that you'll see a lot. Now, I personally don't really know that I believe that it should be in a pre-workout. I kind of like to just have that as a separate thing, but it's in a lot of pre-workouts. So if we're looking at creatine, 5 grams of creatine is the dose that you want to have per day, basically. And sometimes you'll see a product where they have 3 grams or 2 grams or something like that per day, or on the label per serving, I should say. And that can be all right if you're supplementing creatine outside of that product. But then it's just kind of like, why would they even put 3 grams in the product anyways? Why wouldn't you just put the full 5 grams in the product if you're gonna put creatine in it? So that's kind of a red flag in my mind when I see anything under 5 grams of creatine in a product. So just a couple things on creatine. There's a loading phase, right? So basically, creatine is in the food that we eat, and particularly in meat, I believe. But right now, if you're not supplementing creatine, maybe you have like 60% or 70% creatine saturation in your muscles. So when you start taking creatine as a supplement, it's basically working to elevate the creatine levels within your muscles, you can say. And you can expedite that process by taking anywhere between 10 to 20 grams of creatine for the first week. Do you have to do that? No, it just speeds things up. And then just touching on the types of creatine that are out there, all the science is behind creatine monohydrate. Plain old, simple creatine monohydrate, not creatine ethyl ester, not pre-alkaline, none of that goofy shit, all right? So there's no science that shows that there's any other type of creatine that works better than creatine monohydrate. So you might see that on a label like, oh, like Bang energy drinks, like super creatine. What the fuck is super creatine? It's just something that they trademarked as a selling point. There's nothing special about super creatine. It's just fucking creatine. It doesn't work better than creatine monohydrate. There's no science to say that it does. So beyond that, if you're looking at trademark versions, some of these supplements will have trademark versions, and that's always a good thing when you see a trademarked version like Creapure of a product, because you know basically that those trademark products are going to be held to a higher standard. But generally speaking, just plain old creatine monohydrate is going to be great. Lcitrulline, so that's probably the best pump product that you can use, the best NO precursor, and that's basically just going to help you to get more fullness, maybe vascularity in the muscle. It's a pump product, right? So that feeling that you get, you're lifting the weights, your muscles swell up, it amplifies that, right? So anywhere between 6 and 10 grams a day, right? Plain and simple. What you'll see a lot, so let's distinguish this, right? So there's what you'll see on the label is L-citrulline, and then you'll see citrulline malate. So L-citrulline and citrulline malate are not the same thing. So they both contain L-citrulline, right, or citrulline. But the malate version, which is the one you'll usually see, is up to, or normally, unless it's specified on the label, is going to be 50% malic acid, which does nothing for our pumps. It's basically something that they claim is helping absorption Whether it does or not, I don't think so. And there's not a whole bunch of evidence to suggest that it does. So they mix malic acid with citrulline, right? So the label will say 6 grams of citrulline malate. But what you actually have is 3 grams of malic acid and 3 grams of citrulline, which is a subpar underdosed amount. So just keep that in mind. You want to look for L-citrulline, just plain L-citrulline, or if you're looking at citrulline malate, you want to look for maybe like a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of citrulline to malic acid, and that it should be a higher dose, somewhere maybe like 10 grams, because you're not getting all citrulline. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a little sneaky thing that they do where you think you're getting the product, but you're really not. So beyond that, beta-alanine, 3 to 6 grams a day. And just like creatine, it's gonna be a bit of a loading phase, right? So in order to reap the full benefits of this product, you need to have consumed somewhere around 180, I think it's 179 grams of beta-alanine. So if you're doing this at 3.2 grams of beta-alanine per day, that'll take you roughly 56 days. And at that point, you will see the full benefit of supplementing beta-alanine. So just because you take beta-alanine and you get the tingles doesn't necessarily mean that you're reaping the full benefits of beta-alanine. You need to hit this threshold in order for that to happen. So now we look at, okay, well, you're only taking beta-alanine on training day, or you're only taking your pre-workout, which has beta-alanine, on training days, right? So now how many actual days, because you're not taking it every day, so how many actual days is it going to take to hit the saturation point? So beta-alanine, the science shows that it's a really effective product, but in practical applications, it's gonna take a while for you to actually reap those benefits. So if you're in it for the long haul and you're like, hey, I'm gonna supplement beta-alanine throughout the year, great, it's gonna help you. But if you're sporadic or intermittent with your use of it, it might just be a waste of money. So L-arginine is another one that you'll see, and it's funny, the dosing, so it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 grams on this, right? And you'll a lot of times see L-arginine in pre-workouts. It's like 500 milligrams, which is half of a gram. So super low dosing. It's a cheap product, but anywhere from 3 to 6 grams, even 2 grams. I used L-arginine back in the day. Even 2 grams will get you a decent pump, but generally speaking, you want to stick somewhere between 3 and 6 grams. It's not the best NO precursor. Like L-citrulline is honestly going to be more effective. I actually like agmatine better than L-arginine, and that would be dosed somewhere between 1 and 2 grams per day. I think there's not as much science on the agmatine, but just from what I've experienced, I do like it better. So I don't know, somebody might correct me on that one. And then the main ingredient that we have for the stimulatory effect is caffeine. So there's not really going to be a minimum threshold that you need to have for caffeine to be effective. Probably 50 milligrams. Most people aren't going to feel shit. 100 milligrams of caffeine is going to be like a slight boost. 150 to 180 milligrams you should feel, unless you're really stim tolerant. And then in a Bang energy drink, you get something like 300 milligrams, which is a hefty dose of caffeine. There are some pre-workouts that are upwards of this in terms of stimulants, and it's not just the caffeine that can be the stimulants in these products. They might have other caffeines like teacrine or whatever else stacked on top of that to add to the stimulatory effect. Now, the situation you get into with these super high stim products is that they are actually vasoconstrictors. So you're taking the L-citrulline, we got the L-citrulline in there, we got the beta-alanine, we got the arginine, we got all these things in there to help blood flow, to help nitric oxide production, to get the pump blood flow, right? And then you're taking a huge fucking dose of caffeine or stimulants, and that's gonna constrict everything. So kinda counterintuitive, counterproductive if you're into really high stim products, but that's not to say that these products aren't going to work. You're not going to get a better pump, but you're just, what are we doing here? So what I like to do, actually, just so that I know exactly what's in my pre-workout and so that I can change it if I want to, is that I will order my individual items in bulk from a company called Bulk Supplements. You can find them on Amazon, so that I can control my doses of whatever ingredients I'm using. So I like to use basically just Lcitrulline, glycerol monostearate, which is not in here, not listed. It's not a super common ingredient on pre-workouts, but the dosage for that, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to help with hyperhydration in your muscles, and the pump and all that is very cheap product, and it's going to be, I think, between 5 and 10 grams is going to be where you want to be at for glycerol monostearate. The reason it's not in a lot of pre-workouts is because it's very gritty, it's hard to mix, so it's not that great or not that enjoyable to drink. So, but yeah, I'll use Bulk Supplements just to make sure that I can a la carte, all my stuff, put it in the dosages that I want to have it in. And then I'll even do that with like my essential amino acids, and I'll just use like a Crystal Light to flavor it, because there's no flavoring. None of these are flavored, And cost effectiveness is much, much better when you buy these things in bulk. Instead of paying $30 for 30 workouts, you can double or triple that in terms of how many workouts you're getting for the same cost, or even less in many scenarios. So yeah, I think that's everything. Hope this was informative for you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.